Hi, we're going to look at game scripting today. Game scripting normally has some sort of trigger or volume, some sort of interaction that makes something happen within the game. It could be an input as well, but there's always something that's happening in the background that then makes an event happen. The best way to kind of think about it, and when I grew up I did a lot of electronics, is if you have a simple switch in a circuit, you have a button that you press to make the circuit, or maybe some other sort of interaction that happens there and a light comes on. Think about a light switch, you turn it on, the circuit is complete and the light comes on. That's all that's happening in code really. Something in the background is being activated and then some interactions happening to change the state. And that's a really good way of thinking about it. We're going to look at some really simple things here in terms of a couple of inputs and a couple of events that are going to happen, and we want some other interactions to take place. I've got a really simple game here that's similar to Breakout that I've made. I've actually removed all the scripting in here apart from my lives, so that's already done for me. I'm not going to go over the lives today, but I can show that's quite simple. There's only a few blocks of code in there, and this just draws my game over script. So that's just what we're going to look at. There's only a few of the objects. There's the destroyable blocks, the ones that are going to get destroyed when the ball hits it. We're going to look at the ball and what happens when the ball's in play, and we're going to look at the paddle, the thing that the player controls. So the destroyable block is easy enough. What we want to do is add an event. As I said, it's all about events, and it's collision. Now sometimes these can be referred to as triggers or volumes. Like I said, you can enter a volume, stay in a volume, or exit a volume and something else will happen. In GameMaker we kind of don't have that, we kind of just have collisions, so it's a limitation. You can always kind of tweak the collision to be a bit bigger than the actual sprite you're drawing, so you could in theory have your own trigger volume. I am going to add as my collision my ball, and when the destroyable block is hit by the ball, all we want to do is destroy it. So in main one we have this recycle bin type icon, which is destroy. Put it in there. We do want this block to be destroyed, so it's self. Okay, that's it. You've just set up some really simple bit of scripting just with the visual code inside of GameMaker. That's all we're going to cover today, just to get that idea of what scripting is, how it works. So the object side, we don't need to do anything with that because GameMaker just knows that's a solid collision, and we're not going to bother with that. We're going to do the collision decision inside the ball object. So there's going to be quite a few of these now that all are going to look the same, but the first thing we need to do is just set an initial direction for the ball when it gets spawned. So all I'm going to do is add, and this is going to be a create event. I've got the move tab at the top, it's already selected. Drag this one over, and I'm just going to make it go down at a diagonal, left or right, and we can set the speed to 6. So as soon as it starts, it's going to start moving down the screen. I prefer it went down rather than up, because if it goes up you kind of get 3 points for doing nothing. You want to have the player move the bat or the paddle, and that's their interaction, rather than just getting 3 points at the start. That makes sense. So I'm going to add another event, and this is going to be another destroy, but a destroy event rather than action that's going to happen. So what I need to do is when this gets destroyed, it needs to be recreated. So I'm going to go into this main, and I'm going to have this little light bulb, which is basically creating a new instance. We'll select the ball because we want the ball to be recreated. Now I'm just going to get some X and Y values here, 336 and Y of 240. Now I've got these from where I put them in the scene earlier. I was just making sure that they were the same as. So you might need to see where you've set up your object and put it back at the same position. You could do something clever and return it to, say, if you've got another empty game object, say to respawn it at that point, and then you could just put it in your scene. It's up to you. I'm just doing it that way for simplicity today. What also we want to do is take the score down. So there's a score tab, lives, and I want to set lives. I want to click relative because we only want to take one off. If I left that open, we'd take off this exact amount at the start and it would just go instantly down to -1, which is not what we want. We want to -1 every time off the value, the top value, which I'm going to set in a bit. Well, actually, sorry, I've already set. It's in my scoreboard, I think, and it's set to 3. So the lives at the beginning will be 3, and because it's relative, it'll take 1 off it, so it'll become 2. And that's all I need to do there. Now, as I said, we need this idea of collision triggering some event and doing something else. What we're going to do is we're going to click the collision. Now, there's 3 real interactions within this simple game. There's a solid wall on the side that doesn't get destroyed. There's destroyable walls that do get destroyed, but we've already handled how we're destroying those. And we've got the interaction with the paddle. Okay, we're going to do the same thing because we just want it to bounce off. But we've got to put them in 3 times because they're all different objects. Now sometimes you could kind of group these and maybe just have one collision for everything that handled it all the same way. I'm not sure that really works in GameMaker, but you could do that in a different language and engine. So we're just going to use this idea of hitting the destroyable wall first. Let's do something with that. And the destroyable wall will get destroyed, but as it does, we want to look for, in the move, this idea of a bounce. And the bounce is fine as it is, not precise, we're not bothered about position, and solid objects is fine. Okay. Now we want to do it again, and this time for the solid wall, and again it just wants to bounce off it. So same thing again, find the bounce, hit OK, and for the paddle, and the same thing again. So every time now it'll bounce off it and head in a different direction, which is what you want for a breakout game. Now there's one thing I'm going to do at the end. I'm just going to add another event, and this is really nice inside GameMaker. Unfortunately it's hidden away in this other tab. They've got a lot of these interesting extra little events that they don't really show, and it's unfortunate because this one's really good if you want to make sure that you're cleaning up when things go off the screen, like bullets, and not slowing your game down. Use this outside room, and then you can use that recycle bin, the actual destroy instance code, to destroy it. And you're just clearing up. There's this idea of garbage collection, and that kind of helps to tidy things up, to get rid of them. Don't leave them hanging around. They're in memory. They're using up your resources, especially in GameMaker, which isn't, even though it's quite a light program, isn't very good at cleaning itself up necessarily. So I'm going to OK that. So that's all the code for that. So we've done the ball, done the destroyable object, and we haven't set up the paddle at all. This is the thing that the player can use. Now your player wants to put in inputs, of course. They want to press buttons and have something happen. At the start, what we're just going to do is we're just going to have this idea that, just going to check something. Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure what I was doing there. So just in case you're colliding with the solid wall object, No, that's what I've done. We want the paddle not to move anywhere. So that's a collision, right? You're hitting against something and you're saying, look, you've hit something, don't go any further, else it's just going to go straight through it, and that's not what we want. So obviously we know that's the solid wall, so we'll select collision, object solid, and we've got this idea of movement again. So left and right, and we'll leave it 0. So that's basically setting it to not move at all. Now what we want to do is we want to add our keyboard commands. So add event, and when your key is pressed, left or right, you want something to happen, so add those straight away, left or right. But if your key is released, you want that input to stop. So how can we do that? Really easily. We've already got it up here. Drag the same thing on. We say direction is left. We set our speed to 6. We say press right, the opposite, press the right, set the speed to 6. And like I said, we want it to stop when we release it. So the left, speed 0, fine, okay it. Same again, hit right, speed 0, okay. So we've got all the control there, and that's it. That's it done. That's our game. So when we run this, initially, remember, we've started the ball moving. And there it goes. Oh, I wasn't quick enough. And if it collides with anything like a wall, or the bricks, or the paddle, it bounces off. And that's exactly how Breakout works. You see, we've got the game. And you see, when I lost that life, it went down to 2. Let's lose another one. See? And I've added a little game over screen as well. So if I completely lose now, oh, made it a bit easy on myself there. But lose now, it says game over. Now we could do something about the ball and freeze it in a position, but that's fine. It's just an example. So you've got the idea that we've done this scripting, these trigger events, volume triggers maybe, that set all this script in motion. That's basically level design and scripting there inside of GameMaker. Thanks for watching.